What is up, everybody? Welcome to Theocracy. I'm your intrepid host, Theo Snodgrass, comedian and podcaster out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Wherever you may be, thank you for making me a part of your day. Oh, man, it's been a great day here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Windy, oddly windy. So it's been a lot of fun. Also, unusually high number of new viewers lately, so that's been really exciting. Thank you very much for that. So if you are new here, please make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff because I really appreciate it. Really appreciate more people showing up and watching the content if you like it. Turns out not everybody who watched it did like it, though. They did let me know. Anyway, that's the nature of the internet, I suppose. It's been a lot of fun, though. I'm happy. Happy more people are watching. I know why you guys are happy. I don't know why you guys are happy. That's fine. Um, it's been good though. I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited. Did you guys see Pierce Morgan on Jubilee? Did you guys see that? I saw that. So I saw it. We're gonna react to some clips. Now here's the thing about this is I'm just gonna tell you right at the top, Jubilee is notoriously litigious. So they're really bad about striking stuff and striking streams that or like getting streams shut down if they feel like you're using their shit. So we may have to ditch this, in which case I'll just do some different videos and I'll just change the title of the stream later. That may end up being what happens. So I don't know. We're gonna find out together. We're gonna find out together how much of this I'm gonna be able to get away with. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go to the chat real quick as we get started. Vagabond is here. What's up, buddy? Vagabond's first. Strider's here. What's up, buddy? Happy to see you. Yeah, and by the way, before you guys ask, no, this is not going to be an Akash Singh stream. I'm done talking about that for a while. Although there is new stuff on that, I will say. So, because people were saying a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people said his comedy special is bad. His comedy special is not bad. He's good at stand-up comedy. That's not the nice thing to say. Also, the promo they just released for his next appearance on Flagrant podcast, he's coming on. He and his wife are both going to be on Flagrant, so that's going to be very interesting. We're going to see how that plays out. But no, there's not anything new to talk about on that right now, so I'm not going to talk about that. It's also not that interesting to me. I'm only like talking about it. The only reason I talked about it more than once was because it got a bunch of views the first time I talked about it, and now I'm like bored with it. So we're gonna get into the Piers Morgan stuff. I think that's gonna be fun. So Roguish Nerd is here. What's up, buddy? Roguish Nerd, friend of the channel. What's up, buddy? So just to be clear, this is not a this is not like so I titled the video Piers Morgan surrounded by 20 woke dorks. For the record, I think Piers Morgan is also a dork. To be record, everyone in this situation is a dork. This is not like the point of this channel. This is not like a straight politics channel. Like, I don't do that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to watch how these people argue and what are some of the conversation techniques they use. And really what it's going to be, I think, is a bunch of people are gonna, I don't know, because I'm just kind of going through these clips for the first time with you guys. I kind of just picked the clips that looked hot and were doing well. And I haven't like really dug into it. But what I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of people using emotionally manipulative argument tactics. We're going to see a lot of people interrupting. We're going to see a lot of people being like, you believe this guy? That kind of arguing that leftists do, where they'll like make a point and then you make a counterpoint and they'll be like, you really believe that? Seriously? And the cool thing about it is that Piers Morgan is also a dork. So because everyone involved is a dork, we've got twice as much opportunity that somebody is going to use a manipulative tactic or use a retarded argument or something like that. We've got twice as many opportunities. Also, the other thing too that I got to tell you about, so not only Jubilee is very litigious, so there's a really good chance that the stream is going to get struck. So if the stream goes down, please tell me, because I can't see when the stream is down from my angle. Actually, I should probably pull it up on YouTube just in case. But yeah, so let me know if the stream gets struck. I'm hoping it won't. So I'm being really careful. But the other thing too is that YouTube is using more AI moderation now. So you might So yeah, I might get struck if I use a gamer word because I use comedy club words on this show. That is something I do. So if I'm using a comedy club word, I might get struck. We'll find out. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into it. Without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the first video we're gonna look at. Let's go ahead and All right, ready to party. See, okay. So the reason, okay, two things I'm doing here, just so fucking Mama Susan can see. See, I'm reacting to a short, so this is not the full length video. So this cannot be a replacement for the full length video. Second of all, I made it really small and I made myself relatively large by comparison. Problem with that, it makes it hard for the audience to see. So the audio only listeners, you guys don't give a shit about any of this. But the reason I'm orienting it this way is so that Mama Susan doesn't strike me down. Because like Jubilee some bitches, be honest with you. I'm just gonna be real with you. Jubilee some bitches because they make these videos and they're like, we're trying to start a conversation. And then here I come to participate in the conversation and they fucking rip my stream down over and over and over again. And I'm just like, this is fucking... Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. I know you guys understand. I'm just like, I know that this is suboptimal. I'm doing it anyway because I'm trying to get it done. Yeah. Mama Susan is spreading. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mama Susan, Mommy Dommy. Yes, Mommy. Mama Susan, friend of the channel. We love you, Susan. Anyway, let's go ahead. We're gonna, okay, so first person he's talking to is this like medium hot Asian girl. So you're welcome, Vagabond. We're showing hot Asian girls on the channel. That's for you, buddy. All right. It looks like, okay, it looks like she is wearing open-toed shoes. So if you want to bookmark this video for later, buddy, I got you. All right, go ahead, sweetheart. Oh shit!
I'm a black lesbian. What would you say?
So Piers Morgan just said, if I said I was a black lesbian, what would you say to this like medium attractive Asian girl? Bold opener. I probably would have opened with something else. I probably would have opened with, that's an interesting thing you're doing with your eye makeup. What inspired you to do that? Something like that. But in telling a girl you're a black lesbian, that's a bold opener. I'll try that out at the bar this weekend, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Okay, go ahead.
I'd love to respond to that.
What would you say?
I would say that you're conflating this idea of limitless, like whatever, gender expression or self-identity. Yeah. I already said I don't agree with that.
But you didn't say where the limit is.
That's okay. See, this is important. So, trying to get a leftist to establish some kind of limiting principle, because their beliefs are just unlimited, boundaryless freedom for everyone forever, and everyone gets unlimited free stuff forever, and everybody can come to America and live forever, right? So it's all like, so getting them to establish some kind of limiting principle can be really disorienting because they don't want to. Because part of the reason leftism is so popular is because it feels icky to say no. And it's like a very feelings-based way of approaching the world. So it feels icky to say no. So what he's asking is, who do you say no to? And right now, like I think what he's walking her into here is being like, why is transracial different from transgender? And she's going to try to explain why. So I'm very interested in the answer because it's very hard to do it in any kind of logical way other than, and this is how you know that the beliefs are faith-based and they're prescribed and they're derived from consensus, because there's no set of logical reasoning tools you could use that would give you transgender is good and transracial is bad. She's just saying that because that's what she was told to say. Because there's no like logical way to reason yourself to that position. Once you have one, there's nothing precludes the other. Or you could say that like both of them are stupid and you're just born what you are. Like those are kind of your choices. But there's no way that like the position transgender is good and transracial is not is logically tenable. It's very, very, very hard to defend. All right, so let's see. All right, go ahead, sweetheart.
Right. So for me personally, and what I believe is that there are scientific things that we can agree to, like biological sex, right? But gender expression is a cultural
I know,
and societal.
you said that, but where is the limit to what you can
So
identify
you can't
as?
identify as another race because that's just genetically not correct. Right?
Okay. But I guess that it's like you can identify as another sex because the biology argument falls apart here because this. I think, okay, if we're going to steelman her position, we're going to give her the most charitable read possible. She's saying that gender expression is culturally constructed, but sex is biological. So a couple points on that. If that's true, then why do you need to receive cross-sex hormones in order to transition gender? Like, if the physical markers either matter or they don't. And if they don't matter, then you don't need the cosmetic surgery and you don't need the hormones. And if they do matter, then they're immutable, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? And sex is more biological. First of all, sex is way more of a biological reality than race. Race is super arbitrary. And it's like race is way more arbitrary than sex. I think that's what's so frustrating for people about this is race is so much more arbitrary than sex. I mean, there are genetic differences between ethnic groups depending on like geography and like breeding and stuff. And but also like what do you do with like people who are like two or more races? You know, it's just like it's way more malleable than sex is. And it's also like culturally specific. Like what race you're considered depends geographically where you are. Like you could be like people that we would call black in America might go to South Africa, and the fact that they're mixed race becomes significant. But in America, they're just another black person. But in South Africa, it becomes important that they're a mixed race person. It's a separate category over there. So how we categorize the race is so arbitrary. I would think that would be the one, if we're going to let people self-ID, that would be the one that would make more sense. Right? Transracialism actually makes more sense than the transgender thing. Also, the way that you quote unquote act out your ethnic group or act out your racial group or whatever is also culturally constructed in the same way that gender performance is. Like the way you act out what ethnic group you are is also culturally constructed. It's the same, like all the things she's saying about transgender don't not apply. They also apply to the transracial point. So it's like, this is what I'm saying is there's not like a logically tenable way. She's just, and this is exactly. Mr. Scott has, see, this is why I like my audience. You guys, I have a very high IQ audience who's already like up on game on most of this stuff. So I'm like not telling you stuff you don't know. So the only thing I'll push back on, it's not that she's dumb necessarily. I think she is, this is just like a woman of average intelligence, but she's deriving all of her opinions from consensus. So she's just repeating what she's heard the people around her say. And because they all say the same retarded opinions to each other and they all repeat it back to each other, and they spend all their time in echo chambers where everyone agrees with them all the time. Right? And they don't do, see, the other thing too is they don't do what we do. So, okay, do you guys remember, this happened a few months ago. Shout out to Daramuth, by the way, who just dropped a great short of me talking about this. You got to check out that short. I posted it on my X timeline. It's really cool. So anyway, do you guys remember a while ago when I did that interview on Touch Grass with that feminist girl? And shout out Jasmine, at enigmatic erratica, I think is her Instagram. Sweet girl. A lot of fun. We had a good conversation. We did not agree. We tussed a little bit. Chat wasn't a huge fan of her, but I liked her. I thought she was a cool girl for coming out. When I talked to her, it was like, one thing that became evident is that I had heard a lot of the arguments she was making before, and she had not really heard the arguments I was making articulated as much as I had heard her. So maybe it's not fair to say she'd never heard them before, but she was way less familiar with my views than I was with hers. Let's just say that. And that, I think, is very common on the left, where it's very rare you're going to meet a right-wing person or a right-of-center person, which is like most normal people now, who has not heard a left-wing argument in their life. That's incredibly rare because the mainstream culture is just saturated with left-wing arguments. So we hear them all the time, right? That's not true over there. So a lot of times they have not really had their views challenged. Their views are supported by an echo chamber. So, and they're deriving all their views from consent. So that's why they're always virtue signaling. They're kind of like checking, oh, am I around people who agree with me? Do I have the right opinion on this? You know, it's really pathetic. The reason this annoys me is because I've seen comedians do it. And that pisses me off, because a comedian, you're supposed to be bold and just say what you think is good or funny or interesting to say in that moment. And you're supposed to like be able to tolerate it if the crowd doesn't always agree with you, because you can win them back if you're funny. Like, you can say things the crowd doesn't necessarily agree with if it's funny, right? So, but a lot of comedians who bought into the woke thing, they're just like, they're always like checking, and they're just like, well, I believe that and women should and they're always trying to validate their opinions with the crowd, you know? And that's what I think is creating the problem here, is like, she's like, so, okay, because you guys, you guys are like independent thinkers who arrive at your opinions from logic and from like books you've read. I know I got some readers in the chat. What's up, B.S. Warren, friend of the channel? Kayla's here. What's up, girl? Friend of the channel. Hold on. Let's see. And let's see. Theo, I've been exclaiming 25% of people are T-arted for 25 plus years. That's probably about right. Reading. Oh, what's up? Green-haired anti-liberals here. What's up, girl? That's another one. Check out her channel. She does a reading stream. That's pretty dope. But yeah, no, like, these are people. So you guys think because you read books and you reason your opinions based on like independent thought and life experience, and that's not what they're doing. So they're just like scanning the crowd to see what everyone else thinks and making sure that they agree, because then that's how they know that they're safe. You know, I mean, they're mostly these, and this is like, and because remember, like, okay, like, let's be honest here. This is an average looking Asian girl of average intelligence. Nothing wrong with being that at all. Nothing wrong with being that. But why is she on a political debate show? Why did she get picked for this? It's like, I don't know. She probably got some kind of social media following or whatever, but like, I don't know what her deal. I don't know who any of these people are. But my point is, like, do we think this is like the most sophisticated left-wing political thinker we could find? You know, to be in this debate. I mean, the reason I said woke dorks is because I don't get the impression that these are like the most sophisticated political thinkers that we could find. You know, this is just like some chick. And they're putting her up there. And part of it doesn't matter because so many of these people are interchangeable because they derive their views from consensus. Like, there's not a lot of like interesting, dynamic, creative thinkers on that side. It's just like the people who repeat the appropriate talking points they're supposed to repeat the most and the best. You know, so they're not sophisticated people in that way in terms of that. And I think that's confusing for. And also, like, they don't hear all the contradictions. That's the other thing. I know it's important to you guys that you think independently and you reason and that your views logically lead into the other. And if you find yourself thinking something where one view contradicts another view, that's going to bother you. That's not going to bother them in the same way because they're just repeating. They're just trying to, as long as they hear good boy and they get good boy head pats, they feel good about their opinions. And also, a lot of their opinions just evolve into good. People deserve things. People deserve rights. And rights is whatever nebulous good thing that they like. People deserve rights. People only voted for Trump because they're scared of other people having rights. It's just hysterical, right? It's just hysterical nonsense. So anyway, we're going to get into this. She's, yeah, I'm not shitting on this girl. Like, she's like, obviously she's probably has some kind of social media platform I don't know about. That's the thing about the internet. It's huge. There's a lot of people way more famous than me that just, I haven't heard of them. That doesn't mean that like she hasn't worked hard for her platform or whatever. Maybe she's like super smart and I'm just not clocking it. You know, I'm not trying to shit on her necessarily, but like, I don't get the impression that she is like a sophisticated, creative, dynamic, interesting, innovative thinker. That's not the impression that I get from this conversation, considering she's getting dog walked in a debate by Piers fucking Morgan. That's, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be a dick here. Sorry, guys. Oh, man. All right, let's get to the end of the video. Let's see what she's got to say. Again, I know the point is, like, anyway, so just so we know where we left off, she's trying to make the argument that transgender is fine and transracial is not, when I think based on both biological principles and the way ethnicity is socially constructed, the way gender is socially constructed, I think we both agree that from a logical perspective, that's dumb. It's logically, transracial makes actually more sense than transgender. By the way, I'm glad it wasn't a thing, because I 100% would have been transracial as a teenager. All right, go ahead, sweetheart.
So there are limits to this.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm really curious where the woke limit is on self-identity.
Okay, this is actually a good tactic he's using. So I will say this. I know I called him a dork a bunch of times, and I will continue to do so throughout this live stream. But what he's doing here, where you try to get them to put a limit on something, is really useful, because they do not like saying no. They don't like boundaries. They don't like limits. But if you're going to deal with reality, scarcity exists. So it can't be unlimited, free, everything for everyone forever. That's not a platform. You can't actually do that. That doesn't exist, right? So I think this is actually super effective, what he's doing here. And that's why he's going back to impressing on it. If you encounter left-wing people and you just calmly ask them what the limit is on the principle they're expressing, people should have rights. Like, that feels good emotionally, but there are practical limitations to things. And leftists are terrible at grappling with practical limitations. They're horrible at that. They just don't have any like means of dealing with it. And the problem is, if you set yourself up in opposition to reality, reality will always win every single time. That's a huge bummer, but that's just how things are. I'm sorry to say. You know, reality's going to win every time. So let's see what she says.
Right. And so
are there any limits in gender identity?
I don't believe so, because gender is...
You can say astrogender, so gender, and you want people to respect the fact
respond.
You have an affinity with the stars.
If I may respond, gender is a social construct. A social construct means we made it up, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So
it's completely invented.
Therefore, you can have whatever identity that you want, because you've decided to create that.
Yes,
for
but
you.
my point... The point.
No, okay, so that's actually really illustrative. I'm glad she said that. So that's how they get to the gender thing. So they think gender is socially constructed. Our concepts around what gender roles, gender performance are made up. Therefore, because the category is constructed, we can do whatever we want with it. It can be whatever we want. The problem is that the category is socially constructed, and it's nature and nurture are both included, right? So there's also this, they don't believe that humans have a set nature. They believe in the blank slate. They believe that anybody can be anything if you just program them the right way, which is crazy. That's also contradictory to the transgender point, by the way. That's also contradictory. Because so someone is immutably transgender to the point that the government needs to pay for them to transition as a child, then that's their nature. Then you're saying that they have a nature, But you're also saying that men and women are not innately different, that they're all interchangeable cogs in the machine, and that the only differences between men and women emerge because of socially constructed gender roles. Right? Therefore, we could just like throw our hands up and do whatever we want. And it's like, no, we have to deal with reality. Like, humans have a nature, and we have to deal with that also. Right? We have to deal with that. And the fact is that like men and women are not just like different in socially constructed ways, they're innately different. And the other thing too is that the male female binary, it's one of these binaries that's been with us it's like up down or left right or black and white. It's one of these like dualities that's as old as our species that we use to like make sense of reality. And if they can undermine that, then they can undermine all the rest of your beliefs about reality. And then the reality is just like whatever I say it is, whatever I make up. And that's how they reason their way there. You know, it's like, oh, well, this is made up, therefore it can be whatever I want. And it's like, no, you have to also factor in reality. You have to deal with like the laws of reality. And what they always say is like, well, why can't it just be different? This thing I run into when I talk to feminists a lot is they're just like, they'll basically come to this idea of like, why can't men act more like women? And it's like, cause it didn't feel good. They don't want to, and it's bad. And they can't, because they can't mentally handle the idea that men and women are actually innately different. That part trips them up. Like, they don't get why men can't just act more like women. You know, they don't understand it. And this is like, just BS word. Gender is a social construct, but transgenderism is. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Okay, so there's certain aspects, like there's nothing innately masculine about the color blue or feminine about the color pink. There's no reason pink needs to be for girls and blue needs to be for boys necessarily. Like, so there's certain things that are kind of like arbitrary. But there are certain things that like definitely come from nature and we see replicated across every human civilization. So it's like some parts of it some parts of it are made up and some parts of it are innate. But like, no, it's like, but do you see how they want to have it both ways? They want to be like, oh, well, you know, your biological sex doesn't matter. But also, if you are innately transgender and you have this gendered soul, then we need to give you a bunch of surgeries and hormones, and so we can change your biological sex markers so that it matches the gender of your soul. But the biological sex markers don't determine your gender. So it's like they want to have it both ways, where the physical doesn't matter at all, but also we need to change the physical to matter. If the physical doesn't fucking matter, then why do you need to change it? Like, and the reason is because they did not reason themselves to these positions logically. You know. Yeah. And the other thing too is like, this is actually a good point that Roker's making. Why don't men act more like women? Because you wouldn't fuck a feminine man. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like women say they want this, and then when they're confronted with it, they're like, ugh, they're like repulsed by it. And they're like, oh, where do I get a man who looks like a Republican and votes like a Democrat? Like, they just can't. They don't understand. They don't. And I feel bad because they're being lied to. Again, this is like social programming. They're told what they're supposed to want, and it flies in the face of what they want biologically, and they just like don't know how to grapple with that. That's not their fault to some degree. By the way, put another coin in the Theo letting women off the hook jar. That's I love that. I love that, by the way. I love that there are still people who accuse me of like being too hard on women. And then if you like talk to my chat or the people who are actually watch my show or the people who are actually familiar with my work, they're like, no, Theo's constantly letting women off the hook. The chat is constantly yelling at me. Unbelievable. He did it again. That's just is what it is. But it is true. They've just been lied to. Like this, remember, this woman did not reason her way there independently. She's repeating the retarded talking points, and it's like, if it's made up, therefore we can do whatever we want. And the thing is, like, yes, aspects of it are made up, but there's a lot of it that's just like human nature, and you can't change that. It's the immutable reality of human nature. The fact is that men have a nature and women have a nature, and they're different, and there's a lot of variance with that. Like, not every man is exactly the same, and not every woman's exactly the same. There's a lot of variance there. But there are observable differences that matter, and they matter especially when you're talking at, like, the population level. You know? And what they're saying is, like, this is a big thing leftists talk about. To put it more simply, because I actually want to drill down on this for a little bit before we move on. They say the boundary is imperfect, or the category is imperfect, therefore we don't need the category. And you see that reasoning everywhere. And the thing is, like, no category is perfect. Like, I'll use an example everybody knows. Category of mammal. Like, mammals have titties and they don't lay eggs, right? Except for echidnas and platypi, right? They do lay eggs. And also, like, and the platypus, like, lives in the water most of the time, which is fucking weird, but not all the time. And they've got, like, venom in their fucking back claws for some reason. It's like, what the fuck is this animal? You know, it doesn't quite fit, but it's mammal because it got titties, right? But it does lay eggs, and that's weird. So the category is not 100% perfect. That does not mean the category is not useful, broadly useful, you know? And categories like man and woman, because you're trying to put half the species in a fucking category, it will not be exactly perfect. There's no way to describe man that encompasses every single man perfectly. There's no way to describe woman that describes every single woman perfectly. But the categories are still, broadly speaking, useful. Right? And so, but a leftist will say, oh, the category is not perfect, therefore we can throw out the category. And this is the other thing about being a leftist, like, obsession with exceptions. They're obsessed with edge cases. Remember we always say when you're talking to a woman and she's like, "Nuh-uh, I know a girl who's 5'10". It's like, oh God. It's like they actually like can't process that you're talking about, broadly speaking, you're generalizing broadly about the population, and it doesn't have to be perfectly true for every single individual girl that you know. Right? And they can't process that. That's how leftists think about stuff. They're obsessed with edge cases. Like if you make a generalized statement about a population, they will immediately start listing exceptions that prove the rule, not disprove it. And I don't know if this is a breakdown of the humanities education where they actually like don't know like how to process things logically, or they don't know how to like evaluate a premise and see if it leads logically into the next premise and see if it leads from a statement to a conclusion. Like they don't know how to, I don't know if they just like don't have that skill set, or if they're deliberately being misleading and emotionally manipulative. And in some sense, it doesn't matter. It's just watch out for this. Watch out for this. There's a type of argument where they'll say the category is imperfect, therefore we throw out the entire category. And what's interesting is like a lot of times it sucks because like I'll meet people and it's like I understand why they came to that conclusion. Like if you meet, let's say, if you meet like a woman who's like an electrical engineer, so I've met a couple of these where she's like an engineer, so she's super logical thinker. She's top quintile in intelligence. She's an independent thinking person with agency who can call her own shots for the most part. She probably thinks that everybody is like that. But a lot of people are retarded. And if you take away their category, they have nothing. If you take away their all their sense of what they're supposed to do, if you take away all the social expectations of what they're supposed to do, they're just gonna like jerk off and do drugs all day and just like roll around in their own filth. They're just not gonna know what to do. You gotta give them guidance. Most people can only handle life on rails, you know, but a lot of people are not independent thinkers, are not, you know, able to function absent social expectations. And a lot of people who think they can function absent social expectations are wrong. Social expectations are super helpful for most people most of the time, because it just like a life of limitless options is like paralyzing. It's like not good. It's actually really good to know what society expects of you. And I think, but the leftists are like, oh, well, this social expectations sometimes make certain people feel uncomfortable. Certain edge cases or exceptions or outliers are uncomfortable with social expectations. Therefore, we should dismantle all social expectations. It's like, no, that's retarded. That's going to hurt like 90% of the people so that like 10% of the perverts can like show their dongs in public. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you show your dong at the public library just because social expectations make you feel chafed. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to allow for that. Like, I'm not interested in that. So but that's how they argue. And it sucks because the result of that is that a lot of these, like, groups, they argue for, don't clip it. Don't clip. No clipping. Nobody needs to clip anything. Ah, shit. All right. It doesn't matter. The point is, this is how leftists argue. And the problem is downstream of that is that the groups that they argue for end up rubbing everybody the wrong way. And, you know, so people get frustrated with the groups. They have taken it out on the groups instead of taking it out on the lefty retards who made everybody mad at those groups in the first place, you know? Because I don't give a shit if a man wants to wear a dress and go by Stacy when he goes to Target. I don't really give a shit. Whatever you want, bro. Whatever. I don't care. You know, but then if Stacy wants to get into the women's locker room where the women and children are, I feel differently about that. I'm like not okay with that. You know, so there's like limits to things. Like, I don't care if you want to wear the dress at Target, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I don't care at all. It doesn't, but I think they have this sense that like we hate them or like want to, people who are like uncomfortable with some of these things they want to genocide the transes or they want to like, or they hate them for some reason, or they dislike, or if there's some kind of like malice for them, for the Transformers. It's like, I don't care at all. It's just like the loud ones are just mad annoying. And the ones that want to like, play sports and beat up women and go in the locker rooms and bathrooms and shit, those are the ones that bother me. The rest of them, I really could not give less of a shit about. Like, just go do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care. But their insistence on making these like linchpin issues. And then you're going to see this later in some of the clips that come up where they're just going to like deny that this is even a problem for normal people. They're going to deny, they're just complete denial. Try explaining to a leftist that this is why they keep losing elections and they will just not. They don't get it. They don't understand. Why can't you just let people have rights? Anyway, let's go through the chat because there's a lot of chats that or maybe this Strider here. I don't hate trans people. I just find them weird, but the activists could all go to hell. That's exactly right. I think they're super weird. I also think I think grown men who play Yu-Gi-Oh! Recreationally are weird. Respectfully, I mean, that's a weird way to spend your time, money, and effort. But if that makes you happy, I don't care. I just lost 3 viewers. Shit, man. You got to know your audience. Sorry, fellas. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Funny, men also wonder why women won't act more like women nowadays. Yeah, for real, bro. For real, bro. And I think that is, I mean, I talk about this all the time on the show. I've talked about this with various of you separately. It's like it's not good, man. It's not good out there. And it does seem like women are getting a touch more aggressive nowadays as the men become more passive. I wonder if that's like reaching some kind of equilibrium or if they're like trying to fill some kind of void, some kind of masculinity void. I do wonder about that. That's a topic for a different show. Oh, not only that, Theo, they say gender roles and stereotypes are harmful. Why do they all say I'm a woman because I like pink, I want to wear a dress, like scented candles, like to bake? That's true. It's like gender roles and stereotypes are harmful to natal women who are born with the right equipment. But when a trans woman wants to insist, a dude wants to insist that he is in fact a woman, it's always gender stereotypes that he brings up. That's fucking weird. So this is what I'm saying is like that's the kind of stuff, this is what I'm talking about. Like this would bother you guys because it's important to you guys that your views be logically consistent. They don't feel that way. They don't see the contradiction. That's not important to them. That's just like, that's just not. I almost forgot about that. I almost brought that up back when Pokemon was talking about normalizing men wearing crop tops and skirts. Yeah, dude. Let's see. They actually are reinforcing the supposedly harmful stereotypes and gender roles they claim to hate. Yeah, bingo. This is the White Knight Theo jar. By the way, if you want to put money in the actual jar, I have the Stream Elements tip jar link is in the description. Please send me money. Send me money every time I White Knight. Send me money. How about that? Or send me money so I can get YouTube Premium, so I can react to YouTube videos without running into ads. Let's see. Ask them what sex their pet is. Yeah, for real. Like, how do they, like, it's like, they don't have any problem. They don't have any problem with this when it's dogs, but for some reason when it's people, it becomes a huge issue. All right, well, let's go ahead and get through the rest of this video because I got a bunch of these videos I want to get through. Let's see what else she says. She might say something interesting. Go ahead.
Well, why is that a problem?
No, here's the problem. It's got so...
Why do you care so much? That's the other thing they'll do is, why do you care so much what someone else does with their bodies? It's like because those... So if we change the social norms of a society, it's going to ripple out and have consequences, right? And they talk about this later. But remember in the Olympics when that dude was beating up that little Italian girl in the boxing event? You guys remember that? Because a lot of people didn't like that. People didn't like that. People saw that. They didn't like it. And they associate that kind of shit with Democrats. See what I'm saying? Like, they don't like that. So that's, it has ripple effects. Or, if you... Okay, do you guys know the reason we have sex-segregated bathrooms? That's right. Because, like, when men and women would work in factories together and there was just, like, unisex bathrooms, the women would get sexually assaulted all the time. So they segregated them so that women wouldn't get assaulted, and now they're trying to like desegregate them again because we forgot why we did the thing. So much of leftists is just like they're trying to get rid of traditions, and they forgot why we have the traditions in the first place. So they're actually they're like pretending to be crusaders for women while actively making the world less safe for women, which doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't know why they are this way. It's deeply thoughtless. Kayla's going back to work. Take it easy, girl. Have fun. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to keep going with this. We got to get through a bunch of videos, so I'm just taking forever with the first one.
Out of control.
How does that ruin your life?
It doesn't.
Okay, so why do you care?
To be clear.
Okay, because like I explained, like so if we change the social norms, it has a ripple effect on the whole society, and it affects other people. Just because it doesn't affect like me personally, right? I can still care about it. Because the social norms that are established in a society affect the society as a whole, right? But why do you care so much? It doesn't affect you. That's a very, very, very and this is downstream of why do you care so much about a stranger's genitals? That's so weird. It's so weird. That's what I get all the time. They'll do the same thing if you oppose polyamory. If you are like an advocate for monogamy instead of polyamory, people will be like, "Why do you care so much what other people do with their genitals? That's weird." They're trying to make it like you're weirdly or inappropriately sexually obsessed with gay people, right? Because they want to embarrass you because they don't have any like a logical. They don't have a logical reason to oppose you. They're just trying to get you like flustered and embarrassed. So if you can push through that, just be like, well, social norms matter, right? Social norms do matter because polyamorous societies are unstable and monogamous societies tend to be stable. It's like monogamy seems to be like a prerequisite for stable civilizations, unfortunately. It just kind of is what it is, just what history seems to demonstrate. It's safer for women and children too. It's like literally better for everyone. And humans, if left to their natural devices, will form like harems. So there'll be packs of like sexless men roaming the streets and causing havoc. So that's just kind of how things go. Sorry to say. I mean, I wish it were different, but it's not. As someone who would love to have a harem, no, you can't do that. It's bad for society, and I would argue more trouble than it's worth. Yeah, so go ahead.
Let me be crystal clear. My position is not that you can't call yourself whatever you want. My problem comes when everyone is trying to compel me to use the words and phrases you've come up with, which by your own admission, you've just invented. I don't see why any society should compel people to say, if you want to say you're astrogender, fine. I'm not buying into it. I think it's a lot of bullshit. So I'm not going to say, oh, you've got an affinity with the stars. Hello, astrogender.
Okay, I think
it's complete nonsense.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, that was fun. Yeah, I think, because to me, I look at it as when somebody claims that they have a gendered soul that doesn't match their physical body, they're making a religious claim. And I give that more or less the same respect that I give to everyone else's religion, where I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. Keep it pushing. A lot of people think my religious beliefs are stupid. I'm Catholic. I have to see it every day. Every day I see my Twitter timeline is inundated with people that think my religious beliefs are stupid. And it's like, all right, hey, you just deal with it. You know what I do? I do this. And then I keep scrolling. I don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm not the one going to hell. So yeah, man, you just keep it pushing if somebody doesn't agree with you. I think the problem that they're running into is they think you either agree with me or you're a bad person. And if you're a bad person, then I can call you these devil words like Nazi or fascist or whatever. And then if I can get you successfully labeled a bad person, then it becomes okay to do whatever I want to you. And that can escalate, So it's this friend enemy distinction, if you will. It's good. All the good guys have the same beliefs as me. And if you deviate even slightly from me, then you're in the bad guy category. And then I can do whatever I want to you. I don't have to treat you like a person. You're not just a person who thinks differently from me. You're an enemy. You're an enemy combatant at that point. And it's like, that's not good. That's not good. So not good at all. So because you can't run a society that way. You have to actually, because at some point you have to be able to live next to these people and get along with them and work with them. So, all right, go ahead. We're gonna do this one. This is the next one. I'm just gonna refresh it so it starts over. Boop, boop. All right.
Franchised by society. They're not sure where to go. Many of them lack.
So I think he's talking about young men here being disenfranchised by society. They lack father figures, whatever. And then we're going to see what happens next.
Father figures. There's chest beating Andrew Tate saying, keep fit, don't abuse yourself too much.
Just women.
Well, I'm going to come to that. And so he says all these things, which men go, yeah, that's good. And aspire to be great, aspire to be successful, do this, work hard, and all this. And then you get to his blatant misogyny, right? He is a terrible misogynist. He thinks that women should be left at home, never allowed to vote.
I know who he is.
Based.
Never allowed to work. I know.
Based.
But my point is, I agree with you about that trait of his, right? I think it's horrible. But that's not toxic masculinity.
But
that is actually misogyny. There's a word for it.
I guess the reason, but I think that all of this was fueled by people like Andrew Tate. Because like you said, toxic masculinity, we've never spoke about this before. But I think the reason it's on the table now is because of men like Andrew Tate. It's not because of women calling men
So call
toxic.
it what it is. Call him a
literally
misogynist.
because red pill podcasters, especially...
All right, so we'll address this. So I said this about toxic, masculinity before. There is such a thing, I guess you could say, as toxic masculinity, and it looks like Genghis Khan. It looks like Genghis Khan, trotting around and cutting people's heads off and leaving big piles of skulls in his wake. That's just killing all the men and just impregnating all the women. That seems pretty toxically masculine to me. We've definitely had more toxically masculine eras of history than this one. If anything, this is the most effeminate, pussy whipped, bitch ass, moment in history. This is not the most toxically masculine moment in history because think about it, we don't have public duels. Hardly anyone fights anymore. We don't go to war. We're not conquering excessively. We're not enslaving our enemies. We're not destroying our enemies and listening to the lamentations of their women or whatever Conan the Barbarian said. Speaking of Conan the Barbarian, Professor Savage Dad knows about that. He's a big Conan fan. What's up, buddy? Happy to see you here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there are definitely moments of toxic masculinity, but does anybody really think, Chad, does anybody really think that this is that the problem with our culture right now is that we have an excess of masculinity? Is that the problem? Or are we inundated with a toxic HR culture where the norms in our society involve gossiping, shaming, spreading rumors about people, destroying people's reputations? Cancellation is just, you can't sit with us. It's the most fucking feminine mean girl bullshit in the world. And that's the main mechanism that our society has for dealing out social punishment. It's we don't execute people. We don't have trials by combat. All these these excessive, we have the most the worst guy, the guy who's like toxic masculinity Hitler that they're talking about here is Andrew Tate. And the best that it's a guy who says rude things on the internet sometimes. That's like the worst guy they could find. And it's like, I know, and like, even if all of the allegations are against him are true, let's say, for the sake of argument, they are, because I don't know the whole story about him. I'm not like caping for Andrew Tate over here, you know, but let's say all the allegations against him are true. Is he on the same level as Genghis Khan? Like, how many thousands and thousands and millions of people did he kill? How many women did he forcefully impregnate? You know? It's like Genghis Khan changed the carbon footprint of the planet because he killed so many people. That's crazy. That's a crazy, that guy maybe needs therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll concede maybe there is such a thing as toxic masculinity. There are societies that have existed throughout history where women are basically property and they're traded like horses or camels. You know, they're like, that's not the society we live in. Women have a lot more agency than that. So it's like, yeah, there are societies that have existed that have like abused and subjugated women. This is not one. This, if anything, our society pedestalizes and elevates women, right? It is constantly celebrating women, you know, and this is documented. Like, I don't know. Like, again, this is just not the most toxically masculine period in history. I think what I'm guessing, based on the fucking pig haircut and the stank ass facial expression, is that homegirl does not have a good relationship with her father, and she hasn't had a lot of good experiences with men, and so she left her house angry, and then she met a college professor who gave her the intellectual framework to justify the anger that she feels towards men. And then she became a feminist, and then she you know, got some kind of social media platform, I'm assuming, and now she's here arguing with Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan is not, you know, pushing back on the idea that as much as maybe he should, that like the other thing too is that the expression toxic masculinity itself is like extremely volatile, and it's like bad. It's a bad rhetorical strategy, because it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be like, say fuck you and like feel good as you say fuck you, then it's fine. But if your goal is to like change people's minds, get people to behave differently, and to advance your agenda or your way of thinking about stuff, that's a fucking terrible strategy. You know, because like a lot of guys hear that as like a direct personal attack, and they just immediately shut down. And like, and they view anybody who uses that expression as they immediately disregard them. That's how I hear it. I'm a very logical guy, but if you use that expression, I pretty much throw out everything you have to say, because I'm like, oh, you haven't thought about this enough yet. You actually